Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside. It is the 10th day of October, making it a 2-day, so duality, polarity, balance, things like that. Things that seem to challenge us these days, maybe. We seem to be having a lot of us versus them moments of late. And I don't know about you, but it doesn't feel very good to me. I like the whole why can't we all get along stuff, But that just doesn't happen, does it? So I don't know what to think anymore. I really don't. It's just a sad situation we find ourselves in now. Well, if you haven't been here before, welcome. I hope you like it, and I hope you click subscribe. That's, I guess, what people say on these things. Hit subscribe. You can do whatever you want. Whatever you like. Subscribe, don't subscribe. But I hope you come back anyway. So I shuffle a little bit, and when I'm done, I draw 13 cards. I was born on the 13th, actually, the 13th of this month, almost 61 years ago. And 13 has always figured prominently in my life. I'm not sure why I don't make that happen. It just does. And so when I need to know something, I'll draw the 13th card. So it seems to work well for me. And so when I decided to do this YouTube deal, I just decided that I thought, well, okay, how am I going to do this? And am I going to do just tarot stuff, or I'm going to do tarot and rune? So I decided to do, or rune, I decided to do a tarot and rune reading. Well, I had to figure out how I was going to do that. And so I thought, well, I'll just do the 13th card, but I'm not going to take the 13th rune or anything. That I don't do that, not with the runes. But with the cards, that's what I do. So I just thought that's the way I do it here. So let's count 13. If I draw a court card, okay, which I didn't this time. Oh, and I don't know what I did with that. But anyway, I had this great, put it over here. No. Did I stick it on the altar yet? No. Well, okay. Anyhow, I was going to share with you guys today. I found this nickel on the ground. We did our walk this morning, and I found a nickel on the ground, and it's kind of munched. And whenever I find stuff like that, I put it on the altar, But I was struck by the idea of change, because 5 is change, and with 2 being the day's numerology, I don't reduce this year as part of that, because 2018 reduces to 11, and that's a master number for illumination. So I've just been regarding this year as the year of illumination, and so 10 and 10 is 20. That reduces to 2, so that's where I get the 2-day. All right. But I found this nickel, and then right now I just drew the 5 of swords. So there's a little synchronicity there. 5 is about change, and we'll talk about this card here in just a second. But I thought that maybe finding that nickel might be significant, that maybe we're in for some change today. And so then I saw that there was a SCOTUS decision about basically disenfranchising Native American voters in North Dakota. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting change. And then I drew this card, and I thought, well, this is really fascinating, because what we have here is the 5 of Swords. We've seen this card recently. And what struck me about it is, you see the guy's face, he's smiling, as if he's somewhat happy to be picking up the swords. We see the sketchy brownish clouds in the sky, kind of sick looking. They're at the water's edge. 2 of them are bereft. They've obviously been through some kind of a battle. Swords is our intellectual presence, so there could have been an argument. It could have been a battle of ideas, and this guy over here won. but he's picking up the spoils without them knowing. Maybe they're so caught up in their own thought processes that they can't see what's actually going on, and that's what a lot of people think about this latest addition to the Supreme Court. What was this really about? What's really going to happen? And it seems to be what's going to happen is that our vote is going to be put in jeopardy. And our vote is really about communication, isn't it? We're communicating what we want, in a particular election, different measures, different ballot measures, different, or maybe you live in California where they're called propositions. I have no idea. Or you're voting for a candidate or what have you, but you're expressing you're expressing your intellectual ideas, basically. You're expressing your thought to the world. This is what I want. It could also be an expression of will. But here, when I look at this card, you see people that are upset, right? We've just been through a difficult experience with this appointment to the bench. It brought up a lot of stuff with sexual assault survivors. It brought up a lot of stuff, just a lot of stuff, and it's caused a lot of consternation, a lot of upset, a lot of grief, a lot of triggers for survivors. And so what you have here is people being so caught up in their own emotion and their own thoughts that they cannot see what this guy here is doing. All right. And in a sense, they're taking their eye off the ball. They're not continuing the process, right? They're stuck a little bit right now because they're grief stricken, or maybe they're injured, I mean, obviously, survivors were quite injured emotionally by all of this drama that just happened. So we have another change today that took place that could potentially affect people, in a way that takes away rights that are theirs to have. We're talking constitutional rights. And there again, you're looking at the air element, aren't you? You're looking at the written word, okay? You're looking at ideals and belief systems, right? And what we're seeing is that in our grief, we didn't notice that this happened. You'll see things like that while we weren't looking, did you know this happened? That's happening a lot these days, isn't it? So I thought that was so interesting when I pulled this card, and I wanted to show you that nickel that I found, and I don't know what I've done with it now. I thought I put it over here though, but I don't see it. But it's been all munched, like it's really been through it. And I thought, we really have been through it. So are we going to now see that for what it was and make a change for the better? Well, no, not yet. So there you go. Let's pull a rune. And how I do this process, if you haven't been here before, is I just let the runes fall through my fingers. Now, whether I'm doing rune magic, making a bind rune or something, I do the same process. For that, what I do is I set my intention and I just start pulling runes. And when I feel like I'm done, I'm done. And so, but with this one, I'm just going to let it fall through my fingers. And when there's one left, that's the one we're going to look at. Well, we have Uruz, the second rune of the Elder Futhark. Now, Uruz, if you're into directionality, which I'm not, I just look at runes straight on and I just consider all angles, okay? So, both the positive and the negative, if you will, about it. So, if I were to like cast them and let them fall about, and this was upright, then it might, point this way, it could point that way, it could point that way. So there is a little bit of directionality with Uruz. But what I think is really cool about this, and I tend to research other folks who do rune work and that write books about it. And I can't remember, I've read so many of them, and I don't remember who said this, but I thought that it was probably the best example or best interpretation of what Uruz means. It's a water element, I believe, but what it is again, we're talking change, aren't we? And it's a 2, so we're in synchronicity with today, that being a 2 day. But yeah, it's a rune of the water element. I just checked the little grimoire there. But It's called drizzle. And what drizzle is, which I thought was so cool, you know, drizzle ruins my hair. But anyway, drizzle is the force behind the manifesting force, which I thought was just the coolest thing. So it's source energy, isn't it? It's who we are as source presence, that being the manifesting force behind the actual manifestation. So it's, even though you see the legs or the horns pointing downward into creation, basically, or into form. You know, we've got it's done in somewhat of a I mean, balanced in a sense, but yet not, you see, because one side is a little shorter than the other. But basically, Uruz is about strength. It is represented by the oryx, or the large bull. Uh, so, but it's about the rune of changes, and it's about manifestation. You can, it's not just about our emotions being a water element rune, but it's also about our will. It's about invoking. Okay. It's almost like it ought to be both a water and a fire, but that tends to cancel each other out, doesn't it? But it's actually, what we're talking about is the archetypal pattern of creation. And it's about energy shaping matter. Okay. But it's not, but it's the forming force behind that process. So so what this tells me in terms of what we're looking at today is that when we became a country, there was already a country here, right? And we kind of took that from the folks that were here, and we hurt them in the process. We're about to do that again, apparently, if the results of this vote are what people are saying that it's going to be. So we're going to go back again to the forming force behind all of this whole experiment called democracy, called the United States of America. And we're going to go back and we're going to hurt the Native American folks again that were here already. This was their home. It wasn't ours to come and take away. It was ours to come and cohabitate. But we didn't see it that way, did we? Instead, we decided to do things behind the scenes and gain power and take from people who were all too willing to give what they had. And unfortunately, we're witnessing the same thing now, okay? So if we are, look, at any given moment, we have the ability to change how we do things, okay? Finding the nickel today said, hey, you can change doing anything you want. You can do anything you want. Anything is possible, okay? Change is a really great number, or rather 5 is a really great number, because it means that we can start again. We can make a change for the better. We don't have to stay stuck in whatever this other stuff is, right? We can make a change for the better. Today, that didn't happen. Today, that forming force, the motivation, is what we have to look at. We have to look at what is the motivation for putting somebody on a court who can then rule in a certain way that then suppresses the voice of part of our country, just so those people can stay in power. Was that really what this was supposed to be about? I mean, shouldn't we have come and asked permission to live here? To say, hey, can we live here in peace and harmony with all of you that are already here? Can we learn from one another? Can you teach us about this beautiful country that we've just arrived at? You know, can we live in harmony and live in peace together? But instead, what ultimately happened, I mean, heck, we even fought a war against one another, and it feels kind of like we're headed in the same direction again. Why on earth would we repeat such a ridiculous thing? You know? I don't know. But then I pulled this 5 of Swords, and it just tells me that, again, while we're taking our eye off the ball and not looking deeper to see what's really going on, we're missing some things here. Now, obviously, this is a done deal, at least for a while anyway. Uh, who knows? We don't know what's going to happen next month. We might, there might be a change in balance, a change in power coming. I don't know. But if we stay the way that we are, then we're going to have a return to a time where people's rights are taken away, where people's voices are suppressed, where people are hurt, where people are harmed. And I don't think that we can survive it a second time, or a third time, or a fourth time, whatever this is right now for us, because we don't seem to learn. And the whole point of this is to learn. Now, we've gotten out of balance, right? Today being a 2-day, it's about balance. And what we've done is we've allowed the imbalance to reach a toxic level. When we talk about patriarchy, we talk about the male principle overshadowing everything else. All right. In other words, in order for the female principle to even have a place, it needs permission from the men, right? No. It used to be that women were revered. It used to be the goddess was revered. And then at one point that changed and a switch happened. And everything then was the masculine side of things, the male side of things, the projective side of things. All right? The receptive side was weakened to the point now that it's fine to trample on people's rights. It's fine to do that. That's just what we're supposed to do, and we're supposed to shut up and take it. Doesn't matter if we're talking women, indigenous peoples. It does not matter who we're talking about. We have this patriarchal dominance that has not served us. And the only way to fix that is to bring the goddess back and bring that principle back into play. Now, that doesn't mean that women are going to dominate over men. No, that is not what that means. What it means is that in order that healing takes place, the goddess principle must be present in our awareness, or we don't heal. I mean, it really is true. Sometimes you just got to let it get out of the way and let mama come in and lay down the law and say, look, we aren't going to treat one another this way anymore. It's time that we're nice to each other. It's time that we work together. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. That's the kind of energetic influence we're talking about when we say bring the goddess presence back. It doesn't mean to create another imbalance. No, it means that in order for us to achieve a balance, we've got to do that. You see, women aren't going to do what men did. We know better. Sorry, we just do. Y'all got too big for your britches, and now this is what we've got. We can't live in a world where people's rights are trampled on, where the greater good is thrown out of, into the crapper, so that a chosen few can survive and excel and succeed and make all the money, and while everyone else is sitting here going, wait a minute, I thought I paid into Medicare. Where's my Medicare? I thought I paid into Social Security. I thought I paid into all those things. And now we hear that, oh, they're going to go and take that away. Well, let me tell you something. We cannot take our eye off the ball. We've got to start thinking, what's really going on here? Let the sketchy clouds dissipate. We don't need that. We need to see in full clarity, and we need to assume that there's a problem happening. Because if the last few weeks hasn't told us that, if we haven't come to that conclusion, well, pull your head out of your you-know-what, because that's where it's hiding. Wake up. There's nothing that makes me more angry than to see somebody arrange the deck in their favor so that the right thing can't happen, so that people's rights are taken away. Voting rights, no less. There's no excuse for this. And we have to do something about it. And unfortunately, the only thing that we can do now is vote. I mean, we have to while we still can before they take it away from everyone. You see, that's what redistricting does. It stacks the deck in the favor of one party. And it shouldn't be that way. And now that the court is stacked in their favor, what else is going to be taken away? Will any of our rights be preserved ever at this point? That can't be, folks. We've gone so far this way. It's like the Rune de Gauze. It's like it's shaped like an X, but the ends are contained, so it kind of looks like a bow. And one of the one of the better interpretations of it is energy reaching its saturation point becomes its opposite. Well, we have reached a saturation point of patriarchy, haven't we? And oppression. Because patriarchy is synonymous with oppression, and that's what we've been living under for thousands of years. Now we need to let the other side grow and heal. It isn't about conquering, it's about healing. That's where we need to go now. So allow your forming, the force behind the form that you manifest, be based on love and balance and unity. And understanding that you're part of the unified presence of source energy manifested into form. I know that's a long sentence, but that's who you are. And we can do better than this. And we must do better than this. We don't have any choice now. We've gone as far as we can go with this nonsense, and now we have to become something better. All right? So, something to think about. Oh, yesterday I went and decided, I don't know why I didn't do this before, but I wrote up just very short, explanation for what, yesterday's tarot and rune reading was. And so I'm going to do that, I guess, every day that I do this. And from now on, I'll just, write it up that way. If someone forgets, they can just go to the blog at steppingaside.imsteppingaside.com, and you'll see it right there. And that way you don't have to listen to the video again. If you forget what the day's tarot and rune reading was all about. So anyhow, have a wonderful day. Be nice to one another. Be nice to yourself. Take time if you need it to recharge. We are of no use to anyone if we're spent from all of the drama that's going on. So don't be afraid to turn the television off. I can barely watch the news now, so I'm back to that again. It was just too much. We just got too overloaded with it, didn't we? But anyway, have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside. This has been Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune, and blessed be.